My name is Falk and this is Lowcoder. Our aim is to provide you the very best, most modern and versatile application development platform that exists. And so we develop a lot of features. Every some weeks we release and magic functions appearing everywhere. Some of them we really need to describe, and therefore here's our series of tutorial videos so you can access all the value that is already possible and find also the magic hidden functions that are already offered inside of our platform. And now let's start. In Lowcoder, we have so-called temporary state. You can imagine these like variables in the classic programming language, but temporary state in Lowcoder even more powerful. I will show you now some different ways of use and how it works. On our screen you see some examples. I prepared a little bit. It's not so long in our video. We have as a standard state, just to show, it starts always with null. So the value of this variable, of this state, is the beginning always 0. However, you can also give it a standard value at the beginning. You can just write something like this, value, and the beginning as initial value, it will have this, and later you can read it or overwrite it further on. That means in the state, temporary state, you can just pretty much write whatever is JavaScript, JSON-like. So it could be also a Boolean state for you. It could be a number state where you count or make operations with numbers only. It could have a text as a state, and it can have an array as a state, so you can make a list and other. And it can even have a full JSON inside, kind of nested, unlimited, no problem. It can even contain a lot of data. And it could therefore also be a buffer when you have a data query and you copy that directly to a so-called temporary state and make use of that. But let's first start with the Boolean state. I have here just a switch, and I bound the value of that switch to my temporary state. Just as a pure example, you see here, whenever the button changes, it will then update my temporary state. Here we have state display, so we can see exactly in real time what is the value here. The same I just did for the number state and others. So we can just follow this very easy, and you see the dynamic behavior. Whatever you bound directly will reflect in others, and you can just multiple times reference this temporary state in multiple components and do something with it in the way of a dynamic. Also in the form of text, or when we have our array, for example, I just could extend it, and you will see also here it will directly react to what we do. We have, maybe let's draw this, and you see that the display directly react. So any other use that you make inside of Lowcoder, wherever you bind this value of a temporary state, will directly reflect this change. Now, the magic is not necessarily only to display it, but to interact, to change this state based on the interaction of the user or the interaction of the app. And we have multiple ways to do so. The most easy is to use our event handlers. And in event handlers, you have the possibility to set a temporary state value. You would choose which one you would like to manipulate and set. And then you see you have two possibilities, set value and set in. Look first to set value, then just say what you would like to have as a value in this temporary state. Here I just make use directly from the switch and put the value in this temporary state. That's the most easy approach. Here you see our table. A table is based on a bit more complex data. This is a whole JSON that we had here. And therefore I cannot simply set state. I want only to have some values, for example. Here I want to change a number and I want to reflect it inside of this temporary state. Actually, we can look here how it is bound. We have JSON object state here, sales. You see that's a hierarchical structure. And when I save my changes, then it gets directly updated. And again, I could bind somewhere else components actually to access this value. Let's make it just as a small experiment that you can see how it would work. This is our JSON object value. And inside of it, we have the sales array. So I would need to address what I want, and then I can have the amount from this array. And you see, whenever I update here, it will just directly, you get the concept. That is clear. How I did this from the table, I could not just say save or update state. I need to say exactly what inside of this state should change. And it looks a bit more complex as it is. We have a so-called change set. It's a small information in which row, which field, with which value did change. And this we can use to use the method setIn. And setIn, we have on documentation in our documentation pages for this temporary state. It is like an array path that you have that gives the information where in the JSON the value should change. And here it is clear. It is inside of sales. It's the first or the second. It depends on the row that we have in the table. And then the actual key, the value that we want to change. In this case, it's the amount, or you could have others. They could change. And then the value itself. So you could address even deep inside of JSON some value that should change based on user action. This is the reason for setIn. So you can not update the whole JSON state, but just the part. We hope you enjoyed these tutorials. And if you like it, please like it. Share it with your colleagues, with partners and other people that may be interested to create apps really fast.